which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this county and all the great staff and people we have. We ask you we make decisions tonight that will benefit the staff and benefit the students. And we also want to ask prayer for Charles's brother, that this illness he's going through, that you touch him and heal him and make things good. These things we ask your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, there's no Charlie.
Now what?
Student staff recognition.
Yeah, can we just, if he would come in, we can work that down? Yes, okay. No public comment, no public. Student staff recognition.
Okay, for the October Academic Student of the Month, we have Leah Bennett of Circleville. She is the Pelton County October Academic Student of the Month. She is the daughter of Judith Warner Ferris Bennett. Leah is a member of the National Honor Society in Upward Bound. She enjoys spending time with her horses. She plans to earn an associate's degree in radiology technology and become an x-ray technician. James Huffman, October Responsible Student of the Month, is Senior Sawyer Apple. He is the October James Huffman Responsible Student of the Month. He's the son of Kyle and Jennifer Apple of Franklin. He's a member of the soccer team his freshman year, a 4-year member of the track and field team. In 2024, he placed 6th in the high hurdles, 8th in the 300-meter hurdles at the state track meet. He's been in the Boy Scouts since 2015, member of Scout Troop 162, where he has earned an Eagle Scout Award. He is a member of the Franklin Ward Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he plans to attend college but has not decided on the field of study. He strives for a successful career and a happy life.
Maybe plant that seed of teaching if he hasn't decided. Thank you. Okay, the minutes of the October 1st, 2024 board meeting. Everybody had a chance to look at them. Any corrections, deletions, additions to the minutes? If not, a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed likewise, motion carried. Over to personnel.
Resignations for Charles Burgoyne for head golf coach.
You have my recommendation to accept Charlie's resignation as a head golf coach.
Charles recommends that we accept Charles's resignation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Motion carried. Employment? Oh, I'm sorry, permission to close.
Permission to close option pathway bus driver.
I recommend we would close the position we have for an option pathway bus driver.
Superintendent recommends that we close the option pathway bus driver. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Why are we closing it? Just can't get anybody?
We're going to reopen it if you look down below with a
Okay.
contracted bus driver.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? If not, all approve?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, employment?
I need to excuse myself
Okay.
for the employment.
Please let the minutes indicate that Katie stepped out of the room.
Okay, yeah, fine, she's out.
Employment of personnel. Shelby Thomas for communities and school site resource facilitator at Pendleton County Middle High School pending background check. Joey Eason for extracurricular math content mentor at Brandywine Elementary School. Jennifer Cook, extracurricular math content mentor at Franklin Elementary School. Rebecca Hefner, extracurricular math content mentor at North Fork Elementary School. Benjamin Stingo, extracurricular therapy dog primary handler at Pendleton County Middle High School. Cassidy Wetzel, substitute secretary. Cassidy Wetzel, substitute teacher. Chris Robertson, substitute teacher. And Kent Kimball, contracted bus driver, option pathway program.
Then my recommendation, employment of personnel as presented.
Superintendent has recommended we employ the personnel that we just went over. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carried. Let me go.
Do you want me to get Katie?
I'll go.
Carried.
Okay.
Just have, I guess, call her sister.
Wonder what happened. I can't get it right.
All right. Approval of non-paid coaches, Dan Miller.
Give my recommendation of approval of non-paid coach Dan Miller.
Superintendent recommends that we hire Dan Miller as a non-paid coach. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carried.
Approval of volunteer and chaperones as listed for Brandywine Elementary School, North Fork Elementary School, and Pendleton County Middle High School.
You have my recommendation for approval of volunteer and chaperones as presented.
Superintendent recommends that we go ahead and approve the volunteers and chaperones for Brandywine, North Fork, and Pendleton County Middle High School. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Charlie, you were on there as a presentation, so we're going
I
to.
thought it was 6 o'clock. Sorry about that. Sorry about
We'll
that.
finish up, if you don't mind, one more thing in
You do right.
personnel, and if Sonny's okay, we'll
Yes.
move back to that portion of the agenda.
That's fine. Okay.
All right. Leaves of absence, Elizabeth Harper.
You know, my recommendation to approve a leave of absence for Elizabeth Harper.
Superintendent says that we should approve the leave of absence for Elizabeth Harper. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. All right. Mr. Charlie, you are on as a presenter, so.
Sorry I'm late. They must
Well,
have
we changed that.
Must have changed things since I've been here. It's not unusual, is it? Sure. I do have some things you want to pass out. One for each. These for each. One of these. Thank you for the opportunity
Lisa
to
then.
speak what's on my mind anyway. I've been the golf coach for 7 years. I resigned yesterday. Lot of reasons why, but that's really not why I'm here. Just so you know, I went to Ferrum College and JMU. I have a degree in health and physical education. I did 2 papers on golf while I was in college. One kinesiology, detailing the muscles used in the shoulder, and the other one was a lesson plan for beginning golf, 3-week session. And golf's something I've enjoyed. I've been golfing for 50 years. And when the opportunity came up 7 years ago, at a basketball game, and Kelly Seitz and I asked Sonny if it'd be possible to have a golf team. And he said, sure would, as long as it don't cost us any money. So, and I agreed to that. I was well aware of financial issues. But in order to coach golf, I had to become qualified or certified. I'm not sure what the term is. My degree was old, 1975, and no longer applied. So I took a course offered through WVSSAC, 14 and a half hours at Union for 3 nights. Cost $250, and I didn't mind to do that. But the course, Jamie Tallman taught it, and probably 80% of it, he would comment, I've known Jamie for years because I officiated for 25 years. And he would say things like, well, you already know this. And I, yes, I do. So I finished the course and was qualified and got the job. I just recently asked for a job description because I never seen it back whenever I applied. But the first year was okay, but then I gave you a sheet of paper that has all the training courses that are required for coaches each year. It's a little one-page jobber. And every year I do this, I kept thinking, I applied for a job coaching golf. And all the stuff that is added on to coaching is, it's just more than I think was absolutely necessary for coaching golf. And I think what I'd just like the board to think about, because this not only affects golf coaches or coaches, it has the same effect on teachers. It seems like our legislature wants to add training, education requirements to the school system every time something happens. As noted last year with the death of the girl in Boone County that was homeschooled for somehow, that's now, or they wanted that to be fall back on the teachers and the boards of education. If you take a look at this list, it's not that anything on the list is bad, but we have to take that every year. There's a couple, Megan's Law for one, about halfway down, it's every 3 years. But for those of you that don't know, Megan's Law came into being because a girl in Charlestown, Jefferson County, developed eating disorder because the cheerleading coach told her she was too heavy to be on top of the pile. Her dad was a delegate, Wayne Clark, and he owns Locust Hill Golf Course. He's a good guy. But it was just like back then, we were looking for something to blame the death of this girl on, which is tragic. I'm not saying it's not, but the exact, in the 7 years I've golfed, all I can tell you is we've spent hundreds of dollars on snacks for them kids when they get there at 3:30, 4 o'clock. I don't have any that's anorexic. I have them that are starved to death. Like I say, something has to be done about the volume of what's required every year. And the latest thing that just seems to be the real point of emphasis is the CPR and the AED training. And I don't see how anybody could be opposed to that. But that came into being because a football kid died of a heart attack during a game, and now everybody's got to have CPR. Even the contract bus drivers that you're advertising for has to have CPR. I'm 72 years old, and I did take the CPR class, and I'm physically not able to do CPR. They had to help me down on the floor and help me up. But I passed, and I got my certificate for 2 years. One of my good friends, coach, had polio, and one arm is not used, but he has his CPR certificate. Mary Beth Hebb is a registered nurse, probably more qualified in CPR than anybody, and she has to take the CPR class. There has to be some kind of exceptions to that. And I'm probably the one that would need CPR, so the golf team probably ought to learn how to do it rather than me. But it's like they get carried away with putting mandates on teachers and school systems, and I just think that we've got to say, enough's enough. And I'm glad the homeschool thing I'm not a Senator Rucker fan, but I'm glad that that did not be dumped on the school system. My daughter, Holly, taught math for 20-some years at Musselman, and she changed jobs and went to the board, and she said she loved to teach math. She went to school 4 years, spent $50,000 to $70,000 to be a math teacher, and she spends half her time on discipline problems and other things that are dumped on the teachers. It wasn't necessarily the money, it was just everything else that would prevent her from being the math teacher that she wanted to be, went to school to be. All this list is just a start. Besides this, they do have a rules clinic each year that you have to go to, and it's really good. It's put on by the National Federation, and I don't mind taking that, but I don't have a computer. I vowed never to own a computer because I spent 40 years on one. And to take that class on a phone or an iPad, it took me 6 hours this year because it kept falling out because it's National Federation. And it wasn't my doing. Joyce was there and she kept putting me back in. And so that's just something that I know needs to be done, but it gave me a real understanding of how frustrating kids can be if they're trying to work on computers and keep falling out. It is very frustrating. So that's the first thing that I have. Joe Ellington is the legislature that sponsored the bill, and Joe Stotler from Morgantown. And Ellington's also the one that sponsored your pay raise bill. But as board members, I think, and I always do this, I've done it for years, you can pull up all your delegates and see all the bills that they've sponsored and what they're trying to do. And he had way, way, way more bills that died, thank God, that put mandates on the school system than the ones that passed. He's from Morgantown, a coal miner, and he used to be on the Board of Education. So he has a background. And one of the things in the bill that he passed deals with transportation. Well, first off, part of the bill changed the requirements that teachers have all these classes on suicide and all that bullying from 1 year to 3 years. But the other thing it did was change the rules concerning transportation. And transportation is the real reason I'm here. The counties are now allowed to purchase up vans, 10-passenger vans, to help out with extracurricular activities. And the big change on that says that they'll be purchased with county funds, public funds, sorry. And the expenses involved would come from public funds. For 7 years, I've driven my own vehicle, and I didn't mind to do that. That's not, but it's just the reality, and the other coaches do too. And if you look on the chart out here, we had the van for almost, well, I think all but 2 of our matches, and Mike drove the van because it takes at least 2 vehicles, sometimes 3, to transport the golfers to a match. And this week, I know they're having trouble getting a bus driver for football game Wednesday night. 2 vans would really help alleviate that situation, so it's not just us. I've talked to Mr. Hudson and FJ, the trips they make, vans would help them a lot. The big difference is you don't need a driver with a CDL, they just have to be certified. Most all the counties that I'm aware of have issues with not having enough school bus drivers to meet the transportation needs. And I mean, it's every sport has transportation issues. football has the most players, and the vans probably would not help them because you're limited to 2 per event or per program. So they're expensive, and it will take some time to get them on the statewide contract. There's a process that you have to go through to get vehicles on there, and it takes the support of the governor and administration to put out a bid for certain required vehicles, and I know that takes time. But I truly believe that each quarter there's at least 3 sports that are active, and that would be the minimum number of vans. Some of the counties that I've talked to that already have them have purchased a used one as well as a new one to try and meet the needs. So the law changed in 2023 because all the counties had this need because of the lack of bus drivers. And I just urge the board to use some of the excess money JP said we had 2 weeks ago to look into buying vans. The last thing I've got is a program. We had a golf fundraiser this past weekend, and I think we're going to make about $9,000, which for Pelton County I think is just amazing. That would not have happened without businesses, individuals, and the parents that helped support that. And it was one of these things that it's the first fundraiser we had, because I wanted to leave Mike in better shape to buy things than I did. Over the years, I either purchased or had people donate money to help support the golf team, and I didn't really need a fundraiser because I had friends that would do that. Thank God for Betty and her discounts on pizzas. And that's true. I mean, it really is. So that was a successful venture, and Mike already has 2 people in mind to take the coaching job in November, the WVSSAC class in November, to be considered for positions in the future. There really needs to be 3 coaches. When you have a match, since school started in August to the end of September, we had 10 practices, is all. Because the other times we were transporting teams to either middle or high school to play a match. And we don't practice on Friday, so it's only 4 days a week anyway. So by adding a 3rd coach, you could still have practice. Or by adding a van, you might be able to go with 1 coach rather than 2 on your trips. So it has a snowball effect to do that. Most people think we had a real successful year, but Mike and I both feel like we didn't do an adequate job because we just didn't have enough time to be there with the kids. The course at the Highlands, how many of you have been out there? Just Betty, since Heidi started?
I cruise around every now and then.
It's one of the top courses in the state that we have to play. The owners have treated us as better than you'd ever expect. The kids get to play for free as long as they're accompanied by an adult or a coach. It is not a daycare facility. You don't just go in and drop your kids off. The middle school kids, they don't want them playing without a parent or a coach being there. And so they did a deal with the parents or grandparents in many cases. They would rent them a cart for $15, and normally it's $28, just so they could ride around with them while they played. They have additional set of rules or standards that the kids must meet, and they all signed contracts saying they would meet these. Part of them has to be, you have to wear shirt with a collar, can't wear blue jeans, no profanity or horseplay, no littering, real standard stuff. No unsportsmanlike conduct. And the thing about these rules, any damage to the course or equipment, that person would be responsible to pay for. It's the course's rules, and they would enforce them. There have been golf courses in the state that have hindered or cut back on golf because of kids being kids is what I called it, but they try and help us. Part of the things we tried to do besides teach them golf was to teach them golf etiquette, as well as the rules of golf and the skills of golf. Joyce said don't be very long, and I have 3 or 4 hours worth, but I won't bore you with that. I've enjoyed coaching. One more thing on all the regulations, that the requirements for coaching. I was in management for 30-some years, and when we had a requirement come out, I always did it or attended it, because if it wasn't good enough for me to do, I didn't think it would be good enough for my staff to do. And that's hard when it comes to all these classes. And some of them, just like the CPR, I didn't adequately pass that. I got the certificate. The AED machine, we have a plan, but we don't have an AED machine. So don't make it a joke just to pass the classes because they're required. I mean, if it's important enough to do, they ought to require it, and they ought to pay us to do that. The last thing I got, I know we have trouble with contract bus drivers or getting people to the matches. In the county now, we have the golf course, and we have the Navy base where track is, and we used to have Roto Park where soccer was. Getting kids from the school to that facility to practice is an issue. I used to be able to haul them, or me and Mike, when there was 10 or less, but when there's 18, can't do that. So we lucked out in that they could run a bus, the Deer Run bus, and ride on that. But it's getting the track to Navy base is an issue, and it is something that needs to be looked at. The golf course, unless you've been there, unless you know about golf, it's hard to explain how nice a facility that is compared to where all we go. And to be able to use it for free is a super benefit to Pelham County school system. Each year I send them a thank you note for allowing us to use that. I just think it's a good thing to do. That's all I got. I just wish you'd consider the vans for transportation, and Charles is one of the superintendents that has probably one of the better reputations in the state. Just went to the legislature, and a lot of these legislatures are approachable, like Ellington, to explain what's going on, to try and get some of this changed. I sat back and I think, I went to college to be a coach, refereed for 25 years, and I'm not qualified. Something is wrong with that picture. Yeah. That's all I got. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Sorry, I was late.
Thank you. What you and Kelly started several years ago, but you're leaving it way better than you had when you started.
I think so. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
Charlie.
Charlie.
Thank you.
Back to finance.
Okay. All right, we're to finance.
Treasury Report, August 2024.
So before you is the August 2024 Treasurer's Report. JP did send you out an email highlighting that report. Receipts were $1,290,421.97. Expenses were $784,095.99, resulting in an increase in cash position over $500,000. This resulted in an ending cash position of $2,365,165.93. And I would recommend approval of the August Treasurer's Report.
Superintendent recommends that we approve the Treasury Report for August 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carried. Treasury Report for September 2024.
Okay, September 30th Treasurer's Report. Receipts were $2,206,679.37. Fueled by tax collections of over $1.2 million. Expenditures were $1,229,282.48. Expenditures increased from August by almost $500,000, which is reasonable given that September is the first full payroll of the new year. These transactions resulted in an increase in the cash position by over $900,000. The ending cash position was $2,342,562.82. This cash position may be the largest that we have ever had in any one month. I would recommend approval of the September 30th, 2024 Treasurer's Report.
September, Superintendent recommends we accept the Treasury Report for September 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Oh, second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carried. Budget, is there any budget revisions?
I think he has,
There's none on
no.
the, okay. Then we go to financial update.
Regarding the financial update, the objective report shows a budget balance remaining over $3.5 million. This will reduce over time as we have energy expenditures, substitutes, diesel, maintenance, and other stuff. This is still a good position, and that is JP's.
That's just an FYI, right? That's
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. Facilities?
Another thing, and Travis is actually on his way to Charleston to attend a safety conference next couple of days. The only thing he mentioned was that we're getting close to completion of the Alt Ed building, and hopefully we'll be able to move into it soon.
All right. Anybody have any questions on facilities? Advanced construction planning?
There's nothing there to review.
Okay. See no old business listed on the agenda. New business student transfer request.
I have one transfer request for you this evening. It's transfer request 2425 number 16.
And I would recommend approval of the transfer request as presented.
Superintendent recommends that we accept the student transfer request of number 2425 number 16. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carried. Policies for review.
And I would recommend that we table policies review until our next board meeting.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Superintendent recommend we table policies for review to our next board meeting. I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carried. All right, second month attendance report.
All right, I have a few things for you with this. So while Mr. Hedrick's getting that pulled up, we had Brandywine third grade as our highest individual grade during the second month of this school year with a percentage of 98.571%. That's pretty remarkable.
That probably takes one kid though in that grade.
It does not take many
good,
with these small schools. And I'll kind of touch on that here in a minute. Our best individual school percentage was Franklin Elementary at 95.6%. Overall, for the county grade level, fourth grade had the highest percentage. It was 97.211%. And if you notice there with fourth grade, I know this is only my second year doing this, but I've never seen where we've had a tie. I mean, a perfect tie of 97.5% at Brandywine and North Fork, fourth grade classrooms. And Franklin was not far behind that. So we ended the second month with an overall attendance rate of 94.037%. There were a couple other documents that I included there. One was just September, the September attendance. This is something that I'm going to be putting out monthly new this year, recognizing at the end of each calendar month where schools are and where grade levels are, in terms of like the top 3 classes with the percentage. So you can see here, Brandywine and Franklin were both pretty close at 95% in the month of September. And then Brandywine third grade, North Fork fourth grade, and Brandywine second grade all had pretty high attendance rates in the month of September. So whenever we here in just a few days, really, we'll get October's out there too. I think something that I missed doing last year is sharing a lot of this information out. So that's something that I want to work on. I want the schools to work on, and just getting more information about attendance out there so that families and the public are aware and start, seeing how we're doing. So the next 2 documents that are there, Mr. Hedrick, if you click that one, yeah, the attendance rates. This is also something new that I'm tracking this year. I've decided to just kind of change how I'm collecting information now that I have a year under my belt and I can know what I'm looking for a little bit better. At the end of every 10 days, I'm collecting the rates based on the school year up until that point. So at the end of 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, 40 days. And then comparing that to what our goals would be. So you guys can see there for the attendance rate up through day 40. Friday was day 40 for us somehow already. And so Brandywine and Franklin Elementary were both in that 95 or higher rate, which would be considered regular attendance. That would be our ultimate goal, that kids are in regular attendance. Below 95, we're still okay if we're above 90, but ultimately we would like to be in the 95 or higher. So I'm just tracking those numbers, and I'll be sharing that with principals at our next leadership meeting. And then Mr. Hedrick, if you click on the chronic absenteeism, because that's the biggest piece that I'm hoping to focus on. Whenever we're talking about chronic absenteeism, this is again what the state looks at the end of the year to determine our standing. We looked at the report card. I'm blanking on the name of that, Mr. Hedrick. Our report card that we looked at the last meeting.
Our accountability report cards.
Yes.
Balance
The balance scorecard, yes. So we looked at the balance scorecard at the last board meeting, and we talked about attendance and where we were with it. Whenever they're determining those colors, because it's a range of colors whenever we look at it, anything from 5% or less for chronic absenteeism would be in the exceeds standard category. 5 to 10% would be in the meets standard. 15 to 20 is partially meets standard, and then greater than 20 is does not meet standard. So you can see here, the green is where we're doing pretty good. The red is where we want improvement. The high school, I've shared this before, the high school seems to be the place where we're struggling the most with chronic absenteeism. As of day 40, which was Friday, there were 78 students out of 387 who were considered chronically absent, and that's missing 10% or more of their school year. Brandywine Elementary had 13 of 115, Franklin 23 of 248, and North Fork 11 of 103. This is counting any absence. So it doesn't matter if they have a doctor's appointment that they've gone to, or if they're sick, or if they have just gone on a trip and missed school. It's any absence from the building. So I have shared out with principals a list of those students and the number of days in a row that they would need to be in school to come off of that list. And so we have many students that if they are just in school the next 5 days in a row, they come off of the chronic absenteeism list. So schools are targeting chronic absenteeism through SAT teams and talking about interventions that they can provide to specific students who seem to be missing the most. And so each school's kind of doing attendance a little bit differently, but they have that information to use as a guide in helping increase their attendance rates.
So that's any being absent for any reason,
Yes.
excused absence included.
Yep. So absent for any reason.
That doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, the state, kids want to have doctor appointments or want to have this or that.
The state has made a big push toward recognizing that if you're not in your seat, it's a loss of instructional time, which
We've
then.
heard that several times, haven't we, Mr. Hendrick, at meetings, right?
Yep.
You gotta have them in the seat. It
Yep.
just
So-
seems strange to be penalized for that,
And I think that's a big message that we need to get out, because we've spent so many years, and if we think about really our third grade and below, those kids were the ones who came. Third grade are the kids who were in preschool during COVID. Fourth grade is whenever we shut down. Third grade, they came in whenever we were trying to get back from COVID. So all of these families have spent a large portion of their children's schooling careers thinking about, well, if they're sick, we should keep them home, and missing school is okay, and there's ways to get caught up. And it's a mindset change that we have to get through, where it's not okay to miss school. There's a difference between a big sick and a little sick. If they're a little sick, just a couple sniffles, we can still send them. It's okay. And there's a lot of hesitation and uncomfortableness that I think families have, but I do think that we're moving in the right direction. We just got to get them in school.
I know we hear the presentation, your CIS people work really hard
They do.
with attendance, and I never miss opportunity to brag on them. I think they do a great job, and they seem like
Yeah.
that
They
they
are
try to call
phenomenal.
and see why a child's not there that day. That's good.
Yeah. And they never do anything that is punitive or disciplinary in nature. That's not their role. Their role is to support students, and if there's a need, if there's a barrier that's preventing them from getting to school, working through to try to come up with a solution for that barrier to allow them to get there. But they do keep a very close eye on it and try to work on supporting students and getting to school.
Thank you.
That's all.
Do you have any questions for Carrie? Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
School improvement student achievement update.
Travis is not here. Carrie, do you or Jerica have anything?
We have been looking at data, I think from like a special ed perspective. We have a lot of SAT meetings and IC team, instructional collaborative team meetings going on in schools, where they're looking at ways to support students. I know particularly at the elementary schools. They're kind of in the thick of meetings right now, coming up with interventions for supports for students who seem to be struggling or falling behind. We also, I think it's important to recognize the schools who, I know this goes back to attendance, but CIS and everything that they're doing to support those students. I know Brandywine had shared out the other day that they have had all of their grade levels meet the threshold of having perfect attendance for 10 days in a row. North Fork Elementary is doing a fantastic job with their attendance this year. They had kind of been on the tail ends of Brandywine and Franklin last year whenever Brandywine and Franklin were competing against attendance, but they have done a really good job of getting caught up. And then the high school decided to enter into a competition with Tucker County last week, 2 weeks ago, during homecoming for an attendance challenge against Tucker County. And they came up with the highest attendance percentage. So Tucker County's principal had to wear Wildcat colors to the football game that night. So I thought that was a positive for them.
Well, it'd really be a neat thing if you could do that at Petersburg or Moorefield.
It would be. You're right.
Or
They'll have
Harding,
to,
Harding County.
yeah, they'll have to consider that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we're down to superintendent's update.
Okay, well, the first thing I have is I'll go over our approval status and accreditation. And again, part of that's the balanced scorecard, which we looked at the last time. But they look at, see if there's any, there's at least one county level indicator does not meet the standard, any indicator that doesn't meet that stage 2, and any indicator does not meet the standard and show improvement for 3 consecutive years, then you're under stage 3 intensive support, and that's for academics. For our balanced scorecard, we are not on watch for any indicators. We talked about, we're in our second year on our post-secondary achievement is support, and basically at that level what we'll be doing is Ms. Whitecotton is working with Mrs. Hebner out to high school. We'll be working with our strategic plan and coming up with ways to help improve the post-secondary achievement standard. It looks at our county operational effective indicators, and it goes down through whether you meet or needs assistance on all of those, and I'll go over those in just a little bit. And we did not need, we met all of those and did not need assistance on any. So let me scroll on down through this, and this is just from the West Virginia. This is from the balanced scorecard, and this is an indicator if you're on watch for one or more indicators. And this runs from 1 all the way up to 4. And the darker the red you are, the more indicators you have. And you can see Pendleton has no indicators. We're not on watch academically for anything. We've shown improvement in all of those areas, so there's nothing there, as well as there's some other counties that are not on watch. And even with our attendance, we showed enough improvement not to be on, it was not an indicator for us. Now, let me see. This is the, I'm used to JP doing this, but. So here are the efficiency indicators. It's career and technical education, child nutrition, county board of education members' effectiveness, our ESSER programs, facilities, finance, personnel, special ed, state required data collections, transportation, and universal pre-K readiness. And we have to fill out reports on all these areas and send those to the Department of Ed, and they do come in and do reviews on some of these areas different years. They're usually on like a 2 to 3 year rotation, and we go through those standards with them. We met all those indicators, and here's the balanced scorecard indicators. Other than our post-secondary achievement, we have met all those, and that one's just, and I'll scroll down to our county. It has all the counties listed, if you want to look at that document sometime. And we met requirements for all indicators. I think us and 20-some other counties, we're not on watch. The only one that we have support is our post-secondary achievement, and no intensive support indicators identified. So it's a very positive report for us. Pleased, particularly academically, we know we made a lot of growth, and that was very important. But there's also, as you see, there's a lot of other indicators there. When we go back up to that list, when we're talking about special education, we're talking about finance, we're talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. And you can look down through there, if you look at that, and you can see some counties who didn't make it under perhaps child nutrition and all those other areas. So we met standards and made our accreditation in all of those areas, including state-required data collections, which Lisa takes care of, and she can tell you that's an immense amount of work. And it goes along with transportation and our universal pre-K readiness. So there's a lot of different indicators there. It doesn't look like a lot, but if you stacked all that up, it'd be a pretty high pile of paper if all the stuff we had to turn in to verify what we're doing. So again, I'm very pleased that we met all those indicators of efficiency and that our academics are up. Next thing I have on my superintendent's update is October 6th, JP and I had the opportunity to speak in front of the House Joint Ed and Senate Education Committees, and we did speak in regards to the funding formula, and we certainly very clearly try to put our support out, again, continuing in the 1,400 Florida sparsely populated counties, as well as touching on some other highlights in the funding formula. Next thing I have at our parent-teacher conference to high schools is actually tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, the elementary schools is following next day. And on the 18th, report cards go home, and we have completed the first 9 weeks, or a fourth of our school year is actually over now. And I think that's all I have.
Well, on your accreditation, congratulations to your staff and all the employees of the county. It's really good. Especially you see a couple of neighboring counties not doing quite as well.
You said there's support for post-education.
So post-education is one of the things we have to do there. It's the number of students taking dual credit courses, number of students taking AP courses, and those students in areas like that, and our number of CTE completers who have passed the exam. And they really look at, it's not just taking those courses, but you have to have a certain grade in those courses in your dual credit, and you have to have a certain score level on the AP exam. So it's not just numbers, but it's also your percentages of passing in those levels. And it's the same thing with the CTE completers. So we just have to work to get those numbers up and put some plans in place to try to help support those students. And that's what Ms. White-Cotton and Mrs. Severn will be working on. And just it'll be a focus on our school plan as well as our county plan.
So you don't know what that looks like, what they have in mind to do?
Well, we'll have to go back. What they have in mind to do will have to be to get more students enrolled in AP courses and dual college courses is one thing as in the future. Also, we'll have to continue to work to make sure people who are taking our vocational courses, where they take the 4 courses, that they are passing the completer exam too.
Went on, you have it?
Yep.
All right, the next regular meeting, Pendleton County Board of Education.
Got the conference up
Oh,
there.
conference, I'm sorry, conference meeting update. Yeah, we have a meeting next week.
I'll be meeting at South Branch Career and Technical Center on October 23rd. We have an EPIC meeting on October the 24th. And then I will be in Fairmont at the WVA-SA meeting on November the 7th and 8th.
Okay. All right, now, the next regular meeting of the Pendleton County Board of Education will be held on Tuesday, November 12th, North Fork Elementary School, beginning at 6 p.m., following an LSIC presentation at 5:30.
5:30 to eat.
5:30 to eat.
Where do y'all meet over
Can I-
there?
It's in the library, I think it's in the library, yeah, the library. Okay, let me go finish this up. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
It's not
Any
good.
further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carried. See you at North Fork.